Hey everybody, Matt here for AVC and welcome back to the shop. Today we're doing a little pickup video. We actually forgot to install these door skins on our wall interiors video. Oops, but we're gonna get it done today. So stay tuned and let's get to work. So one of the big differences when you're building out a Transit versus building out a Sprinter are going to be the doors. So in a Sprinter, this upper inset door section here is actually really easy to finish because you make a panel, you put it on, and the door looks nice and finished. Here in the Transit, even if I just finished out this space, my door's gonna look unfinished with all these holes throughout it. So to counteract that, we here at AVC have built these door skins, and we designed these so that they're gonna cover and trim out the entire door. It's gonna look really nice. And we also offer these for a with windows or without windows option. The without windows is gonna be completely solid, so that way even if you have a window, you can insulate and cover it if you wanna add storage, or if you just have a cargo van with no windows, we have the right solution for you. Before we start installing these door skins up, I thought it'd be good to point out that using a 3/4 inch screw is probably gonna do a lot of good for you, making sure you don't accidentally penetrate from inside to outside your van. This is one of the thinner spots in the vehicle here, and you do have a chance of actually puncturing the outside of the van. Don't ask me how I know. So we wanna start down here at the lower portion of the door, and our door trim is gonna fit right along here, so we just wanna mount it into this corner and set our screw tight here to the corner, keeping in mind as we go up the door, we gotta keep those screws tight to the outside edge. With our first screw holding this panel in place, now we can kind of pivot off that lower screw and line everything up with this edge of our door here. So, with everything looking good, let's just go ahead and put one screw here at this top corner. With our second screw in place, this alignment along this door edge is set. Now we don't have to worry about the alignment of the door panel, and we can just worry about getting our screw placement and tensioning places like this upper corner into place. To align our second screw along this outside edge, there's a few things we need to keep in mind. First is, these little flat spaces here behind the trim seem like they'd be a really great place to mount a screw, but they have those holes there from Ford, so we need to avoid them. The other is that we want to line up our screw on this side to a screw on the opposite side of the van, and in order to do that, I like to use defroster lines here and just kind of count down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That fourth defroster line down actually leaves me with a pretty good spot to mount a screw, and that's what we're going to use today. Now that our second screw along this outside edge is in place, we can think about adding tension to the door panel and pushing it into place against that door. These doors have a little bit of curvature here, so you are going to have to actually push this door panel into place. Screw placement doesn't really have to line up with anything specific, but we do want to keep in mind there are some holes back here, and to remember where those are, we can always look at the door opposite that we haven't installed yet. So I'm just going to install my screw right here at the apex of this corner. Seems like a really good spot, and I have another seam that's kind of lining up with that, so we're going to go with this location right here. So then I'm just going to push it against my door. For our second screw on this top edge, I'm just going to hit the corner and just give myself nice even spacing. The last screw I'm going to put in this panel before I start mounting the opposite side is going to be this lowest corner. So let's just go ahead, pull this panel into line, and set that corner. Now that we're moving on to the passenger side, you can do everything we just did on the driver's side in reverse. So I'm just going to get it done. You might notice that during this install, I'm actually using this little screw guide. This is something that we designed up and we 3D printed, and it just helps us get nice screw alignment, and it helps us measure when we're trying to line things up or get consistent setbacks off the edge of a panel. So it has a little rib here, or ridge, that we can line up with the edge of a panel, and then it has mirrored marks on both sides, so we can get our spacing nice and even across panels. Right now we have this available as a free download on our website at avcrig.com. Just go to our downloads page and it's going to be there. So if you have a 3D printer at home, you can go ahead and print yourself one. And if you don't, a lot of your local libraries actually have 3D printers and they're free. So go ahead and check that out too. Picking how many screws we want throughout this panel is kind of up to you. You don't need a lot. Honestly, one will probably do it. So let's just go ahead and start with finding one that's close to this one here on the outside, and that would be 4 lines down on our defroster. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and right about here. So if we line up our alignment tool to that edge, we go in 1 inch, make a dot with our Sharpie. Now we have a nice point to mount that screw. Panel feels nice and tight. I think our rear doors are done. With our rear door skins installed, we're ready to move up here to the passenger side sliding door. Because alignment of this panel can be tricky, I just preset one of my screws so that once I hold it up here in place, I can just set it. With my drill handy, I'm going to go ahead and float my door panel up and into place. I'm going to use my fingers to feel my window frame and align with the metal edge of that window opening. Okay, that feels just right. And set that screw. We kind of tilted our panel around till we got the alignment the way we want it. And we're just going to go ahead and set another screw at this front corner. Now our panel should be aligned. We can just start adding screws around the perimeter. As I start adding screws around this perimeter, I'm going to refrain from adding anything along this bottom edge, because that lower panel here, we're going to line up to it, and then we're going to match both of those screws along that edge. With our upper panel mostly screwed in place, we're ready to move on to the lower panel section. So I'm going to preset one screw. It's going to hit this flat section right here before I shift this thing into place. That way I can use that screw to set it. And I'll go ahead and move up front, and I'll set this corner. With two screws registering our panel in place, I'm going to hit the lower and side perimeter before I get this section last, so we can get this panel looking nice. With three of my sides installed, I'm going to grab my screw guide, and I'm just going to run through here and give myself nice, even placement of screws along this perimeter here. So we're at 3/4 there, 3/4 here. We have our panel seam screws in place. Now we need to do one last screw, and that's hidden down here behind this step. And to do that, we need to get outside the van and open the door. To get this last screw in place, I like to get my drill into the pocket here behind this wheel well. It's a difficult place to get to, but if you mess a screw up, no one's going to see it. So let's just get it done. All right. With that last screw in place, this door panel install is complete. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button so others can find it. And if you want to support the channel, please subscribe. We'll see you on the next project. This door skin is trimmed. Someone must have called the Moyle.